Watch this. No way!
Hello and welcome back to the Cookie Jar Golf Podcast. I am Tom Mills and today I'm joined by Sam Williams.
Hello.
And Sir Bruce Fitzpatrick.
Howdy.
G'day. G'day, Bruce.
As always, guys, you can get in touch with us on @CookieJarGolf on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And keep an eye on YouTube tomorrow because tomorrow night we are dropping a little sneaky preview for you of our Scotland trip, which was
heat. Absolute
delightful.
Heat landing. And we also get in there a little shot of Bruce playing into Castle Stewart, I believe, with a cheeky little elite reference to the Tiger President's Cup 2005.
Do you know, I've gone back and re-listened to that and I've had to cut out a little bit just afterwards where he walks back towards the camera saying, absolutely flushed it. I've absolutely flushed it.
What was it, about 230, 5-iron, flagged it to a foot.
Even a blind squirrel finds an acorn. No, it's been shared on a few channels ahead of schedule. I've got a few leakers in the cookie jar who just leaked the video out to the press early, and it kind of made rounds.
As in yourself. Guys, watch this 5-iron.
I mean, to be fair, if it came from your phone, I'd kind of question the noise it makes off the face because it's pretty serious, isn't it? It's a piercing noise. And we'll just put it up on standalone format just for our listeners.
I think so. I think we can just, maybe as the teaser to this podcast, we can just put up the fizzing 5-iron. But obviously
Masters.
We've just had the Masters and I'm going to start it and go throw it out there for you boys. Was the Masters boring?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I should declare I've got COVID at the moment, so I've spent the last few days laid up. I have not been well. I've actually got the positive result back from a test I've done recently, and I felt pretty poor. I'm sure people will be curious to know how I felt. I genuinely felt like I had a fairly bad head cold for a basis of about 5 days or so. And then I knew something was rotten in Denmark when I couldn't smell my son's dirty nappy on Friday evening and thought we'd better go and get this checked out. But you know, it was a perfect excuse to spend a whole weekend sat in front of the TV. And I mean, I must have seen nearly every single shot from that weekend's golf. I don't think it was boring.
Soaking up Butch Harmon's superlatives and the horrendous delay on his Zoom connection.
I lost track of how many times Butch Harmon said he was impressed with Sung Jae-in. I was like, mate, he is one of the best golfers on the planet.
I've got to tell you, and I'm really impressed with this guy this week.
It's like, well, he's winning on the PGA Tour. Yeah, he's a really good golfer. I mean, he's one of the best out there.
I think one of my favourite Butch things is when at the end of a sentence he just goes,
yeah. Butchisms.
Yeah, well, you could see that. I think Cameron Smith's shot from under the trees on 9, as that was kind of meandering its way around to the pin, it sounded like he was
How about this shot?
He was close to climax at one point.
Seeing as you're the kind of master's encyclopedia for this pod, Sam, one thing I wanted to ask you about, because I heard it from a friend the other day, did Butch mention he'd been coaching Rory McIlroy out in Vegas recently, or they spent 4 hours together? I heard that he said they'd done a bit of work together because Rory obviously hasn't been able to see Michael Bannon, his longtime coach, because of lockdown and the travel restrictions. So apparently he spent 4 hours with Butch just working on a couple of things that have crept into his swing since the lockdown, and hence why he's not, replicated the Sterling form, which he had at the back end of last year and the start of this year. But I wouldn't want the cookie jar to be the purveyor of misinformation and fake news, so that's why.
It sounds like you're trying. It sounds like you
It does sound like you're trying very hard.
Well,
I can't confirm or deny.
I'm not the one who said I watched pretty much every waking moment of Masters coverage, so maybe
I didn't mean I listened to every bit of vitriol that came out of the commentator's mouth about most of it. It was hard to decipher what was about anything except from Bryson and DJ, to be fair, for the whole weekend.
How painful was the rain delay when at the beginning, when all they had to do was talk about for about 4 hours was Bryson, and it was just Bryson after Bryson after Bryson. It was
boring. Actually strange, wasn't it? Because it was like, when you go to sleep before a monthly medal, before you go out and play golf, and in your head you play the round, don't you? So it's like, yeah, I can probably get it sort of about 300 up the gut of the fairway on hole 1. I'll probably stick wedge into about 10 feet, probably make birdie, maybe par, give myself par. And you do that for 18 holes in your head before you play. And that was pretty much what Doherty and Coulthard and the guys in the studio were doing. On every hole, it was like, yep, this will be a wedge for Bryson. And I don't know. You could have seen that coming a mile off. What was your take, Bruce?
I was going to watch the rain delay live, and then I just decided to carry on living my life, really, and doing a few other things on that Thursday afternoon. So, I didn't tune in until they actually started playing golf, but I'd have to take a pass on that.
For me, personally, I found not lockdown boring. Lockdown is boring. I found the last day of the Masters boring. Going to throw it out there. Just watching DJ just walk to victory with nothing. He was never going to lose it. I just lost interest.
It was looked close, didn't it, for the first few holes actually? So when he looked brittle on the second hole when he flubbed the chip.
Brittle.
It was. There was a sort of straight out of my short game, sort of 18 months ago. Really, it was a very brittle approach. But that was one shot, and I thought, okay. He then stiffed the bunker shot, knocks it in for par, onto the next tee, and it was just a cakewalk, wasn't it? And you got to feel bad for Cameron Smith, haven't you? Shoots 4 rounds in the 60s. No one's ever done that at Augusta, period. And I mean, he was like 5 shots off. I mean, many years he wouldn't have got near the leaderboard with that kind of distance from the winner.
Yeah, remarkable. I think, going back to your point there, Mills, about it being a little bit anticlimactic. I don't know if part of that is just we're unfairly measuring it against the yardstick that Tiger in the 2019 Masters brought, when you had, the best players in the world all right up there, and Tiger having a 2-shot lead coming down the closing stretch and looking to put an end, towards sort of looking to put an end to a 11-year major drought. So I don't know. In the end, I think it was as good as we could hope for, and we should all just be fortunate or lucky, I guess, that the Masters went ahead at all. Really, it still
definitely
had that kind of crowning achievement, really, for DJ, for a guy who's, I don't want to say he's been an underachiever, because obviously he's won so many regular tour events and has probably been the best player in the world over the last 10, 15 years. But yeah, it was nice to see him sort of get a little bit closer towards the reputation he deserves.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think if you think about what happened with Rory, for instance. So Rory started with an over par round and then went on a rampage and finished 11 under or 10 under, whatever he finished at. And you think even actually if he'd started as a kind of a 5 under round, with the way he was playing, he still wouldn't have competed. He still wouldn't have been in the realms of what DJ was doing. But what I wanted to check with you boys is, do you think this is going to go down as... Obviously, DJ shot 20 under, which is the lowest Masters score ever. Do you think this is going to go down as lowest score asterisks? Being played in November and being soft, and do you think it's going to be always that little?
I think the course was easy day 1 and day 2, relative to what it usually is. It wasn't, the greens weren't as fast, were they? And they were so soft. You could see the way the balls landed. I mean, all the mud ball stuff, like that was a bit repetitive, wasn't it? Every time there was a sort of a semi-poor iron shot played, it was always a mud ball. I think even at one point, John Rahm's 3-wood that he topped from the middle of the 9th or the 8th fairway, I'm pretty sure that was a mud ball. It's unbelievable what it can do out there. Really, it's just a different game, isn't it? But I think the course was definitely easy, wasn't it? I mean, you've got the other guys, Fratelli, Cameron Smith, they'd have romped it at 15 under, wouldn't they, most years? There must be something where, I mean, even Rory being able to claw his way back, because he wasn't playing lights out golf, was he, for the entire 3 rounds afterwards, and shot 75. So, yeah, I think there's probably some truth there. Bruce?
Yeah, definitely softer. And I definitely agree, over the first few days, the course must have played easier. I think the stats would definitely show that if you compared it to previous years. And that's probably what underpinned the decision to not put the pins in the usual spots that they do on the Sunday, like, down on the sort of left side of 16, where you're offering people the chance to make a hole in one, or you're certainly giving good shots a very, very decent chance of making birdie. So, yeah, I think
But it doesn't matter, does it? Like, it actually doesn't.
It's the same for everyone, though, isn't it? It's
exactly.
the same for everyone.
It makes no
and he
odds.
still
Yeah,
won by
it's
5.
stickier.
Okay, well, let's move on to the winning margin. Do you think the winning margin is more important than the score? So, for instance,
what do you mean?
97. Well, 97.
Go
Tiger,
hand in hand, don't they? You've got to shoot the lowest score and win by a margin.
No. So in 97, Tiger won by 12 strokes, which is the largest winning margin. He also shot 18 under in 97, but he won by 12 strokes. So the nearest guy was 6 under. Do you think that when you talk about achievements like lowest score, that actually winning margin is more important than the score itself?
Yeah, absolutely. There's that famous quote about Tiger winning the 2000 US Open at Pebble, where, again, I don't want to make another blunder because I probably already made one earlier in this podcast, but I think Thomas Bjorn or Ernie, they finished second. Might not have been Thomas Bjorn, it might have been Jimenez, but whoever finished second at Pebble in 2000 said, yeah, we finished tied first in that event, and Tiger Woods was playing a different golf tournament because he won by 15. And yeah, I think the winning margin, because that essentially tells you, like, relative to the rest of the field, how much better you are playing. Whereas, okay, you can go and shoot 20 under, but if second place was 19 and the two people, tied third on 18 or whatever, then clearly the course was playing easy. I think here, DJ won by 5, which is pretty dominating. It's pretty decent margin of victory in a major, but no. Yeah, it was funny, actually, wasn't it? Seeing the handover ceremony, or the presentation ceremony, rather, when Tiger was there witnessing, Fred Ridley and Jim Nantz talk about DJ setting the scoring record. And you'd have loved to have known what was going through his head there. But, yeah.
I don't know. I think there's a lot kind of... Yeah, I mean, he won by a healthy margin. It's not a Woods 97 destruction, is it? It's not kind of, how many shots did you say, Tom, in 97? 12 shots. You've obviously done your
12.
research for this pod. By the way, Bruce, you are spot on. It was Jimenez and Bjorn 2000 US Open. I didn't want to stop you mid-flow. Obviously, I knew that stuff off the top of my head.
Fantastic.
No fact-checking on this pod. There was some other pretty good highlights, I thought, to the year. I thought, to the Masters, rather. It would be remiss not to say what an absolute beast Langer is. Do you not watch that and just think, this is ridiculous? Like, it's absolutely ludicrous. The fact that he can go out there and shoot that, and the guy just looks dialed, going about his business. He's like, talking about being 63. He's like, I'm still trying to win this thing. Like, it's mental.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's never going to win it. I don't even know.
But you know what I mean?
Like,
he's focused, isn't he? It's not
I think he takes pride in making the cut and actually turning in his best performance. I don't know if he said he thinks he can win it, but yeah, what is remarkable is that it's a course, it's an event that you can really just manage your way around, and it's not stupidly long or penal off the tee box. So that maybe plays into people like Langer's hands. It certainly plays into someone's hand like Woods, who is such an artist with the iron play. And maybe you'd have lost a little bit of that there with it being softer and it being more towards a kind of target golf where you could just throw it in there and stop it and not worry about those slopes as much. I think in April, maybe the guys who are the better iron players, a lot was made of JT going into it, how he would probably have a good tournament because he's so good in his approach play. Maybe that was neutralized a little bit by the fact that it was playing softer. And DJ, not to take anything away from him, I mean, he is as close to the full package as I think you can get on tour nowadays. But if there was one thing that was maybe he's not quite as good at, when you look at someone like Rory, who's a similarly high club head speed player, is DJ doesn't hit the ball miles up in the air because he plays with such a shut face at the top, or de-lofted face at the top. So yeah, it's again, it just goes back to that point about November Masters. Maybe it's different in a few ways in terms of identifying the best players in certain categories.
JT never looks lethal, though, does he? Whenever you see him up near the top in a big event, I never sit there and think, he's not seriously going to go and win this. It's not part of the plan for him. He'll just sort of like drift away quietly in his own. He's kind of like almost that Ricky Fowler scenario, I know that's.
I don't know. I think he was
completely
shooting
unfair.
like lights out for one day, and then he just couldn't really find it.
I know the guy's a good golfer. I'm just being a bit controversial here, though, right? But I never see him and think this guy's just going to absolutely destroy the field here. He's going to bring the course to its knees and he's going to eclipse the entire field. He's always sort of feels like, I don't know. Whenever I see him now, I never thought the person I was genuinely rooting for with two people probably that I thought were probably going to give him a good run was Sung Jae Im and Cameron Smith. I mean, Smith put on an absolute stripe show on pretty much every nine.
Just before we move on to Smith, though, because I'm not quite done with Langer. I mean, I did tweet about this. If he got up there, genuinely, on a Saturday, is someone gonna call it?
He has, though. He was up there in contention in 2016, Mills.
But if he's clearly anchoring, I mean, I'm doing this on screen, no one can see me. But like, I thought the rule was there had to be daylight between chest and putter. I mean,
but there's shirts there, and there's shirts there in the way, and he's not. He's winning on Champions Tour as well. Don't forget, he's winning literally every PGA Tour Champions event going. I don't know. I can't comment on the anchor.
I've also heard that people have refused to sign his card on the Champions Tour.
Why?
Conjecture, because of the anchoring.
Yeah, I mean that your credible source there is someone who replied to a tweet, I think, Tom, and that's. I'm not
yes,
sure
that's where I heard it.
Okay, can we just go?
Yeah, I mean, let's just
or let alone a court of law.
Can we start to dial in A, on what anchoring means, and B, whether Langer is anchoring? And if he's anchoring, then surely other players out there as well. Bruce, you are itching to tell us about anchoring.
I'm not that bothered about the anchoring thing. I just want to jump in with a sort of point of order about Mills saying if he's actually up there. Langer was tied third in the third round of the Masters in 2016 when Willett ended up going on. He ended up going on and winning that one. So I think he's already been up there at a point in time where if anyone was going to call him on it, they probably would have. So yeah, I can't say I've scrutinised it closely enough. But Bryson, again, though, when you say it can't be, anchored to any point of the body, like, I don't know if Bryson having the shaft going the whole way up his arm, up his forearm,
it's clearly anchored, isn't it? Yeah.
Within the spirit. So maybe they've just gone soft on it. But, in a game where one of the hot topics is about increasing participation and making it welcome to all, I don't know if we're just getting lost in the.
But hang on. I think that's an easy cop out. Isn't it?
To me.
That is an easy cop out. How many beginners do you know are turning up with broom handle putters and trying to anchor them into their chest, Bruce? I mean, it's hardly it's not the most intuitive way to hit a golf ball, is it?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there are bigger fish to fry in terms of
I agree. There's bigger issues on the table.
If the man's that brittle that he has to anchor the flat stick to get his way around a golf course, I just think. Fair enough.
Well, I kick this off, hang on, by saying the guy has played really good. Isn't it great? Isn't it great to see Langer playing great golf in the Masters at the age of 63? And Mills, and you, Bruce, you're both as bad as each other, have to get us bogged down in this protracted rules debate and starting to dissect the minutiae. I, for one, am happy Langer's had a good week. I don't think it makes much difference. I think if he's taking... I mean, it's a victimless crime as well, isn't it? Anchoring on the PGA Tour champion.
There is a victim.
Where you
there is a victim.
Like Phil Mickelson with like 100 million in career earnings and stuff. So
there is a victim. And the victim is poor old Webb Simpson. He's the victim in all this. He putted so well with a broom handle, and then he just went off the boil for 3 years. Scott's gone back to be fair.
Okay, I'm going to move us on from this.
Well, can I just drop one little bit of wisdom in there though? Because
I'd rather you didn't, Bruce, to be honest with you. But yeah,
okay. Well, you say it doesn't make a difference, and I said that as well. The one slight issue, and obviously being familiar with the Augusta Greens, having been a past champion there and getting to play this event every year, etc., this plays into it. But Langer did gain 9.46 strokes on the field putting at the Masters, so take that away.
That's pretty punchy.
That's tasty.
Second only to Cam Smith, who again, I don't mean to be particularly bullish or just nitpicky here, or smart Alec, but you said he was putting on a stripe show earlier, Sam. And that's just categorically not true. The guy was just blazing it all over the park and just getting up and down from everywhere. So again,
Lossy
I mean,
Mouth, 2012 or whatever you talk about. Just an unbelievable putting exhibition. The one thing that was very nice to see at the Masters was, I think maybe for the first time ever, cookie jar golf's influence starting to have an effect on the way golf is broadcast across the world. Did you guys spot this?
What, the jacket's green, like the cookie jar colour? Or...
No, that as well. But I think maybe we're secondary.
That's
there.
shocking,
Tom,
chat. Can you
Tom,
take that out?
did you spot it?
Take that out, please, Tom.
Was it the drone?
There was a little drone. They've always had the blimp. I just thought there was some nice arty camera angles going on out there. And I thought it felt like a little bit of an Eric Anders Lang film being interspersed into a high quality tournament.
I did hear
Snazzy B-roll.
Yeah.
I did hear Tiger say in an interview, he's like, it's really different. Yeah, it's really different this year. Because he's like, usually I can hear the roars. It's like, usually I can hear the roars from the next green, but all I can hear is the drone buzzing above my head. I did like the drone footage. I thought it was, it brought a new perspective to things. I don't think they, as the players, probably appreciated it, because those things do make a racket.
Appreciate it.
I would agree that there was
whizzing around.
Well, they were flying it constantly back down the 16th, which obviously you've got the 15th green because it's got the pond at the rear, hasn't it, and the pond at the front of the green, and they were pretty close to where they're putting. And I was thinking, considering we do that when we go and play golf courses, I'm not sure I'd want to be stood on the final round on 4 holes in, trying to hole something, and I got this thing buzzing away.
Well, yeah, I mean, on that note, Mills, no, I've got a good one here. I mean, when I've opened up an 8-shot wound on Sam through the front 9 of Castle Stewart, and he then nearly throws his wedge into the Murray estuary after Mills gets the drone a little bit too close to him and says, "For God's sake, Mills, I'm trying to play golf here." If Sam finds it that bad in a little sort of bounce game between me and him on tour in Scotland a few weeks back, God only knows what these players are going through.
That drone was stupidly close on Castle Stewart. It was so close. It was literally impeding my follow-through at one point. It's no bloody wonder I hit a hosel rocket. Can we move on past my own shanks? Because I haven't played golf for a few weeks and I haven't actually thought about it, to be fair. Tom, what were you going to say? Hopefully it was something informative and witty and not about me.
I believe the camera on 16th was on a wire.
Bloody hell.
There were drones there, but I think they'd introduced something called a fly cam down 16, which was a camera on a wire from top to bottom, which is where I was going with it. So they can't blame their shanks on that. So but there were drones.
Who's going to have a run then at? Who's going to have a first run at Bryson's par 67 chat then? Because there's no way we're getting off this pod without discussing this, is it? Let's be honest. So who's going to have a run at it first?
I'll crack into it first.
Okay.
First of all, like you said earlier on, it was always going to happen when it was so hyped up and so Bryson heavy, but going into it, he was never going to walk it. Second of all, I think I kind of sympathise with him in a way because lots of players think it. I'm sure Rory McIlroy goes out there and thinks the third is almost drivable and all the par fives are gettable. So in my head, I should be playing this like a 67. And I sympathise with Bryson in a way because we want these players to be open and honest, and we want them to come out and show a bit more personality and be a bit more relatable. And Bryson's come out there and just said what probably many other people are thinking. And because he didn't achieve it, he's been shredded. And I kind of feel sorry for him.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a pretty good
Don't go and expose yourself in the first place, I think.
You just don't
you don't need to go out there
you?
and yeah, and I think Tiger, to be fair to him, again, I'm very conscious that I might be dropping my third real clanger of this pod, but I don't think Tiger, back when he was winning, would go out and just set himself up for failure in the way that Bryson has and a lot of other people have. I mean, there were guys like Rory Sabatini who were saying that they were going to take down Tiger back in 2006, 7, 8 or whatever, and then they would look like the idiots when he just kind of stayed quiet and went about his business, and then he'd have a chuckle with them after. The classic was the Stephen Ames thing where Stephen Ames said, yeah, Tiger's hitting it all over the place in the WGC, and Tiger didn't say a peep, then just went and rolled him 9 and 8 and said, "Yeah, taught that guy a lesson." And that's kind of what Bryson should have done. If I'm being honest, I think if he was more mature, he would have just said, "Yeah, I like my chances," kept it all kind of pretty reasonable and quiet, and then gone and opened up a wound on the golf course. And if he'd have won the green jacket, then he could have talked about it after. But yeah, I just think it's trash talking in golf. Just don't really go together.
It's not a good look, is it? That's the truth.
Yeah.
And it's all for like, I'm all for saying like they want to be relatable. I want them to kind of. The nicest part was seeing DJ kind of getting choked up doing a speech, because it was like, yeah, that really meant something to the guy, considering he's such a steely kind of ice cold warrior when he plays. That was nice to see. I don't think that means Mills running your mouth and saying how you're going to bring a golf course to its knees before you've gone and played 72 holes of kind of intense championship golf.
To be fair, that in his defense.
I mean, I want to be real, but I'm not going to stand on the tee and say, look, I'm just going to bring this thing to its knees. I mean, I'm playing this as a 64. You boys are playing it different game to me, which is basically what he did when he and
in his defense he did say it's going to come down to chipping and putting, which was a bit of moderation, but yeah, I think as the media does, and maybe part of it was his own fault in that the balance was overwhelmingly towards like I'm going to be able to play this golf course in a way that it's never been played before. I thought the most bizarre thing about it was how bad his wedge play appeared. I mean, just the fact that he flirted with the cut, even right down to his 36th hole, where he smoked a drive up there and then just airmailed the green with a wedge.
Like a 5, yeah.
I mean, how far away was his wedge shot? Was his approach shot? It was just bonkers.
It was about 150.
Was it? Okay. Yeah, which is nothing for him.
Still a wedge for him.
Yeah. I think who knows, maybe he comes back in April and plays really well. It's very hard to say whether this strategy is going to pay off on the basis of such a small sample size, but
it's interesting because he came out and said, on the 13th, I'm going to fly those trees and I'm going to play it from the 14th fairway. I mean, he's blasted the driver down there. He didn't get anywhere near.
No, didn't get anywhere near. But I thought Augusta looked. I mean, this is typical armchair pundit Sam comment coming here, so you can take me down for this one. I thought Augusta felt long this tournament.
It felt long.
It felt
it
long.
Seemed,
for someone who's
long.
watched the Masters and never played golf there for most of his life, it felt long. And I'm saying that because I just remember seeing a lot of long irons and thinking. I just remember seeing Answer hitting like 3-wood into. Is it the?
Well, Tiger hitting 3-wood into 15 or 5-wood into 15
or something like that. It was like, Christ, this is long. And then there's obviously no run on the ball, but the course, and maybe that was a mix of kind of heavy ground, probably a little bit of slightly colder air temperature. I don't know whether there was COVID up there in the air as well, but there was something slowing the ball down.
COVID's dense.
Yeah,
well, they were all still in t-shirts, weren't they? But I guess you didn't see.
It's a little bit cooler though, isn't it? It's not
while we touched on COVID, I mean, and we can't move on just yet from the Bryson chat. Did you hear that when after he only just made the cut on Friday, they were like, "Oh, Bryson, well, you've obviously not brought this course to its knees. What's going on?" He's like, "Well, I've just gone for a COVID test. I don't feel great, so I've just gone for a COVID test." How did it come back? Yeah, it was negative, but I must have. Yeah, I've got something.
Testing issues. I mean, it's straight out of the Jason Day Chambers Bay handbook, isn't it?
I know. Okay. Well, maybe I think Jason Day's genuinely got diagnosed vertigo there, so maybe we don't want to take shots at him. Sorry, Jason, if you listen to this, we'd love to have you on the pod, and if you want to talk about your vertigo, then that's fine. Sam's just totally trivializing it. Bryson, though, I think there was a bit of just played really badly, and maybe I need to think of a reason. I mean, Tiger and Rory did it as well. I remember they both, I think in different years, they're both withdrawn from the players citing toothache or something. So, yeah. Maybe next time I snap hook one up in the medal, I might just blame COVID on it.
What I would say, though, is to tie in a few different bits and bobs from different pods, is Lou Stagner, after the US Open, said that the long rough at courses isn't going to penalise the long hitters, and the only thing that can neutralize long hitters is trees. And he said that because you can't hit through trees and you have to plot your way around the way the course dictates the way And I wonder whether Augusta is just one of those courses that's so heavily tree lined that he can't just blast his way through it, because if he finds a tree or an object like that, then he can't. He's
Well,
stuck.
there's that and heavily sodden ground short left of the third. Part of me wondered if Zach Johnson had gone out moonlighting with a hose the night before that round and just thought, if I can get this ground absolutely saturated, by the time these balls are landing, these boys are never going to find them, because that thing it must be about 6 feet below the ground. I mean, they were looking for it, but if it's gone into you could hear it on the TV. It was so wet, and that genuinely stuffed them, I think, didn't it? I mean, 10's a hard hole for them at the best of times, but those balls are coming in with snow on them off the 10th tee, and every single one, the players, most of the time, unless they stuck it right on the right-hand side of the fairway, they were all hitting scalpy, sort of like, mud balls, as they were calling them. And I think it was true. The balls were landing and they've got, half a pound of sod on them. They've got like a pound of sod just lying on the side of the golf ball. I mean, it doesn't inspire confidence from 220, does it?
Quite memorable in that respect, though, isn't it? quite a memorable Masters in just that respect, though, in that, we watched the world number 2 whilst he was right in the mix, just hit stone cold top mud ball 3-wood on the 8th. And then we've watched one of the hot favourites lose a drive 2 yards off the fairway, also because he's embedded it.
I'll tell you what, and this is what
deeply.
winter golf is about. This is why winter golf's fantastic. Yeah. It's a brilliant leveller. Anyway, moving on.
No placing at Augusta. We've not done play. No, I shouldn't.
In a British accent, it's incredible.
Yeah. I know.
The other thing just on the course was there was a few camera angles that weren't the most flattering. Now, we always talk about this on the pod. Golf is not a gardening experience. Augusta, as fantastic as it is, does sometimes set a slightly false expectation around golf courses. But then there was a few camera angles where it's obviously heavily shaded ground, and I thought, this definitely does not look like the Augusta. No one ever said it on the commentary for fear that someone with a green jacket would have just come up with a sort of chloroform over the hand handkerchief and just sort of pulled them out of their job. But that was... Did you not see that? There was like the back of the 12th green, I think 13th tee. Some of it looked like... I'm not going to go so far as to say local municipal, but it did look patchy. And that's not through any other reason other than the fact they've moved it to a time of the year when the course would have only just opened for play. But I thought it was quite a nice moment of realisation for people that you can't have verdant green grass on every inch of the property 12 months of the year.
Good recovery there, Sam. I think your Augusta invite may just still be intact.
I walked it back sufficiently. I'm learning. I'm learning. I walked it back well.
No, I mean, I think you're right, though. Like, there are a few tee boxes. I think 17 was probably the first time I noticed it, the 17th tee box, where it just looks a little bit bare on the tee. And that's because they obviously burn the grass off. All our listeners will know this because they're obviously all very educated, but those who don't, because they just burn it off from, is it April, a couple of weeks after the Masters is usually held, or May. They just burn off the grass right through the summer, and then they overseed it, I think September time, maybe September, October time. And that's obviously, the course will be coming back into shape now. But with that deluge of rain that they had on Thursday and maybe even earlier in the week, over those kind of bare patches, and the Bermuda grass as well kind of creeps through a little bit, and it just doesn't look as lush and verdant as you said, Sam, as it does in April. But
I didn't know if Woods was going for a head greenkeeper job or something, but there was an awful lot of agronomy discussed whenever Woods was interviewed. Did anyone else notice that?
Yeah, it just makes the
level of agronomy
easier.
The rye, Bermuda, sort of sandy and acidic. It was all coming out of his mouth at one.
Get him on the pod.
There was a lot of talk. This is coming from someone who has no idea about different grasses, but there was a lot of talk about why the mixture of rye and Bermuda would make such a pickle for chipping. Does anyone know why this would be?
It's just the way turf reacts, isn't it? So
are you talking about rye? Yeah. Is there ryegrass there? I thought it was.
Don't try and twist this around January links golf on the south coast again, Bruce. I'm not having that. I know it's time to drop it in every opportunity. Bermuda grass, I think that's where it rolls up the face a little bit more, doesn't it? So I think different types of grass when you hit it, it just becomes, you get a very different kind of feel at impact. So,
So what they're saying is like two different chips would react differently.
yeah, basically. It's like
well,
Kaikuya, it kind of rolls up the face, doesn't it, famously? So you've got to hit them, you've got to hit your chips really shallow on Kaikuya. And then Ryan Bermuda are also completely different. I think Bermuda is, again, it's quite sort of nappy, quite heavy grass. So you've got to, again, you can't sort of hit those running shots so well. Whereas I think Rye's a finer grass.
Yeah, the interaction with the leading edge and the bounce of the club, I think, just varies a little bit from.
If we've impressed some of our listeners with agronomy there, boys, and we got out of that one, tell you what.
So, do you think Tiger blamed his 10 on the various types of grass they're knocking about?
No, but there was probably more water left of the third green where Bryson lost his than where Tiger put his tee shot on 12. It was hard to watch that. It was hard to watch, wasn't it? To be honest. And look, I don't know. I wouldn't slam the guy for a couple of shots went there. I mean, his tee shot on 12 was first class as well. It was a decent shot.
Just fizzed.
yeah. Looked like it was.
And then he fizzed.
Really good iron. He was
fizzed a wedge and.
Yeah, poor wedge. I think if I'm going to go out on a limb here and just say something slightly outrageous, but I think if we'd have been in that position with the wedge in hand, we'd have actually done a better job because as weaker,
Have you seen me play golf?
As weaker players, hang on, hear me out. As weaker players, we're not thinking, right, well, let's just knock this into 4 or 5 feet or leave ourselves a putt up the hill to give ourselves a chance of bogey. We just be like, right, okay, just get this on the surface, get this on dry ground. Even if you go 20 feet past, whereas pros, and certainly someone of his caliber, is just not thinking that, are they? So he's still being aggressive with the wedge, and then he's razzed it back into the creek again. So,
but just running with that,
I'd have
why
backed
do we
ourselves
see
to
more people
make it 7, maybe. I think
but
we could
you
have done
see
7
more
there.
of this at the Masters with people compounding a mistake with another mistake for some reason than you would see. Now, I don't know if that's the setup of the course or if it's the moment, but 15 is another great example. You remember Sergio, I think when he was defending, put one in and then reloaded like about 12 golf balls. He pretty much emptied the bag into the pond, didn't they, afterwards?
Yeah, by the end of it, he was just unloading sleeves of
but
balls.
They do.
Into
just literally dropping them out.
That someone has never paid £5 a Pro V1 right there.
But why do they compound the issue there? Is it because it's set up, with such precision that only the smallest miss? I don't buy that because I don't think Augusta's the hardest course those boys play in April, let alone the year. I think it just the greens are slick and they're very receptive. So I don't know. You do see it though, and
yeah, I don't think you want to overread it too much or read into these isolated examples too much. Like, yeah, Sergio made a 11 or 12 or whatever it is a few years ago, and Tiger's made a 10. But those are isolated instances, and they stand out for a reason. I think if you went back and looked at Winged Foot, or you went back and looked at the PGA at Harding Park or the US Open last year, Shinnecock, wherever, you'd find some absolute horror shows at all those courses. They just stand out because it's the best players in the world doing it.
Yeah. But for those of you who didn't see any of Tiger's 10 or even any of the shots, you can always go back and relive them on the Masters app, which... Did you guys get this? I thought the app was amazing.
I didn't download it. No, I just used the website and the leaderboard. But they covered every shot, didn't they?
Yeah.
That's unparalleled, yeah.
Incredible.
It was brilliant. It was really good. And I was like dipping in and out of... you'd look at someone who's mid-table and see what happened with their round. I think it was a really, really good thing to have. And I don't...
Bit of split screen action going, Sam.
It can't be that hard to achieve in a normal PGA. I know going into our coverage is not always our style, but I can't be that hard to achieve for PGA Tour stuff. Like, why couldn't we have all the shots available? Because they track them anyway for shot link data, which gives you the strokes gain stuff. Yeah. So,
I mean, it's different tech, to be fair.
But they most of the time they've got eyes on most of the holes, haven't they?
Yeah, but
easy without spectators, though, isn't it, mate? Far easier.
But how many times have you seen a hole in one on the PGA Tour where it hasn't been televised?
Patrons, mate, you're a heathen. There's no spectators at Augusta.
Sorry. We edit that. There's no patrons.
Yeah. Oh, hang on. There's a man here with chloroform on his handkerchief coming to get Bruce.
He's gone. No, there was a thing on the app that you could do, which I thought, like you said, it's so simple. You could pick your favorite players, and I had some bets on Casey's made top 5 and a few others. And you could just say who you were following, and they made you like a televised grouping. So just every time one of your players took a shot, it just pinged up on you as something to watch. And it was just like, it was so quality. I thought that's the way that it's all got to be moving forward, I think. I don't know why they can't just adopt it everywhere else.
Fair. But no, that was good. Oh, the whole thing was good fun, wasn't it? Really enjoyed.
Do you think it was a different viewing experience without the patrons? Because I think what I noticed most of all this year is you could see other holes in relation to the hole you were watching, which made it much more, I think, relatable as a golf course. Does that make sense?
I thought it made it more interesting. Yeah, you're like, oh wow, that those are kind of some crossing
They're
points.
not framed, are they? All of them, the greens. Like, it's interesting looking at sites like 9 and 18 and the way that there's very little around there. Actually, playing that in a, if you're lucky enough to go and play there, which after my comments earlier this podcast sound certainly questionable at this stage. If I ever get the chance, it would be quite a strange experience standing again up to like the 9th and the 18th green. There's very little around it to frame it. You do see a completely different aspect of the course as you go through. So yeah, I'll subscribe to that. That's a fair shout and quite enjoyable. Nice seeing a few non-socially distanced patrons out there. Presumably they're just Augusta National members who just float above it. But there was like a squad of about 100 that were just hunting en masse, weren't they? Sort of arm in arm. And at one point, do you remember the girl who sits behind the 16th tee with the flowery dress and the dangly earrings and the massive sunglasses? She's sort of like George's answers to Pat Butcher off EastEnders. She sort of like jumped around and make the hole in one.
I have not noticed this. No.
Right, we'll go back and look at any footage of a hole in one the last 10 years at Augusta National, and you're going to see her sat there.
It's the same woman.
I'm convinced I saw her in the small gallery of patrons, but a lot of the time the shots were obscured, so I only saw parts of what I thought the clothing that she would typically wear would be, sort of a heavily floral patterned jumpsuit or something of that ilk. But that's something you've got to have a really keen eye for, I think, in this game to be thinking about. Probably not something all of our listeners will have noticed.
There we go.
What's the point of this monologue?
That's an appeal out there. Yeah, I know what it is. It's an appeal out. It's an appeal out there to the girl in the flowery dress.
Because somewhere, someone's going to listen to this who's gone, yes, I know exactly who that guy Sam's talking about on this podcast is. That woman who jumps around like absolute crazy on about every hole in one for the last 10 years. Check it out.
I will certainly go and check that out. We need to start tying this up because it's getting ridiculous. Very quickly, anyone surprised at Rory?
Being honest, no.
Sad, isn't it?
It's tricky. I mean, I don't want to be too one-dimensional with it and say, well, he just bottles it and he's got the sort of first round kind of jitters, because I think that's a bit simplistic, and he's had a tough restart really since May, June time. He's not performed as well in any event really as he was doing this time last year or even sort of January, February, March time. So I don't think you can just say, oh, if only he'd had a good first round, if he'd have shot a 4 under first round, he'd have been right there with DJ till the end. It's like, well, I don't think the game really works like that. You've got to marry sort of technical proficiency in your swing with a relaxed mindset. And the guy has just been honest over the last few weeks. He says like his swing, he just doesn't feel that comfortable with it. He's just getting a bit too far under plane and he's struggling a bit with it. And I guess when the pressure's eased off you and you've kind of played your way out of it a little bit after the first round, then it's maybe not a surprise that he goes and frees it up. But yeah, I don't subscribe to the typical pundit's answer that he's just kind of lost a step mentally.
I think he'll win the Masters one year, but I think he'll win it in his 40s or something. So I think it'll be like a Darren Clarke sort of scenario, written off largely by the golfing media and then come back and surprise, because it's almost like on these sorts of stages, the more everyone wants him to do it, the less likely he is to do it. Do you know what I mean? He's almost become a bit of a pantomime character for, here we go, massive tournament. Rory's just completely blown it again on day one. But we all want him to do it. Doesn't look likely, does it, at the moment? But, we all want to be corrected.
Well, I think DJ is probably going to win the Grand Slam before Rory or Spieth at this rate, I think.
I heard, I was listening to one of the other less well-known podcasts out there recently, and they were talking about Rory going for the Grand Slam. And this person goes, yeah, but I mean, it's not the real Grand Slam, is it? It's the career Grand Slam. And I was like, what are you on about? I'm not going to say which podcast this was. And they were like,
got a name and shame here.
It's not a proper Grand Slam if you don't win them all in the same year. Tiger didn't do it. Do you know who did? Jack. And I was like, there was some really poor quality golfing media out there.
What are you smoking?
Seriously. Absolutely outrageous.
Who was that?
And I think...
Did you just sample the whole marketplace, Sam?
I spent a lot of time on this.
It's just trying to work out people who we can slam publicly.
Can I just sort of minor point of gossip more than anything that's maybe only distantly related to the Masters. Jack Nicklaus's social media has been hotting up recently over the last few weeks. Posted a nice image. A nice image of him in his green jacket at the Masters. I don't know whether it's from this year or from previous years. And for those of you who don't know, Jack came out, Mr. Nicklaus, I should say, the Honourable, came out a few weeks ago in support of
Mr.
Donald Trump.
Who's going to be doing the teeing off next year. Carry on.
He came out in support of Donald Trump in the US election a few weeks ago. Posted a few hundred words on his grid, on his Instagram grid, explaining why. Got a torrent of abuse from quite a few golfers, and that still seems to be with him today, actually, because this green jacket image that he posted yesterday or a couple of days ago, a couple of the comments on there, I mean, they make for quite compelling procrastination if you got a slow morning at work or whatever, and you want to just go through those comments and just have a giggle at people's view of Jack Nicklaus after he declared himself as a Trump voter is just quite remarkable, really. And I'm not giving a view here on US politics, but just the fact that people react so strongly to a golfer in the way he voted, I thought it's quite amusing.
As soon as he's
my personal...
Please do personal favourites, Bruce. We all need this.
Okay, so this is my favourite comment. Jack put up a picture of him at the Masters saying, I can't imagine Sunday of the 1986 Masters without patrons. I don't know if I could do it. To a very large degree, the crowd and the patrons are what fueled me on to do what I did, etc., etc. Anyway, someone who shall remain anonymous in the comments says, the stupidity in this comment section reflects the stupidity of Jack's most Trump-supporting post. We just had 150,000 new cases. Stay home, wear a mask, and shut up, Jack. And Nicklaus hadn't actually mentioned anything there really about the merits of lockdown and COVID and the reaction to it. Just basically said it's a shame there's no patrons there, which I think we could all agree with. Yeah, there you go. If you want to be lit up, go to Jack Nicklaus's followers. They'll torch you a treat.
And if you want to be taken hideously off topic, listen to the Cookie Jar Golf podcast.
What I really like about Bruce is every week he serves us up with something I can use as a soundbite. Yeah,
it's without fail.
Oh, sorry, I can show you another one here. Jack posted a comparison of him and Tiger because obviously they're both ranked 33rd in the world. And they're both at a certain number of shots back after the second round in their careers. So Jack was saying, I hope Tiger can do it this year, etc., etc., etc. DKY Wong went on and said, go home, Jack, and take your Trump endorsement with you.
Genius stuff.
Sounds like a good read if you get bored. But until then, I think we've only got 6 months to wait, so we can babble crap until then. But in the meantime, we're going to be
shitting out content. We are going to be dropping heat onto YouTube now for the foreseeable future. The chamber is full.
The chamber of secrets is open,
and we'll be trying to match that up with some. Equally interesting podcast content. So, until then, it's been good chatting to you, and we'll speak to you next time.
Adios.
Hasta luego.
This.